Вітаю і поговоримо про нову серію.
Good afternoon. Let's talk about the new series of lies and information propaganda special operations of the aggressor state. In particular, recently fake news is being spread with reference to anonymous Telegram channels that Russia has planned a simultaneous explosion at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and a man-made disaster at the Kursk nuclear power plant in order to blame Ukraine for it. This fake news has all the hallmarks of an information and propaganda operation to sow panic among Ukrainian citizens on the eve of Independence Day of Ukraine. In fact, nothing has changed because we are dealing with a cynical aggressor that can carry out these terrorist attacks any day. What is happening now is an attempt to sow confusion among Ukrainian citizens and thus put pressure on the Ukrainian political and military leadership to ensure that Russia achieves the goals it cannot achieve on the battlefield, to make Ukrainian society split and vulnerable to Russian fakes. In addition, recently we have observed the activity of Russian Defense Minister Shoigu, who has not achieved impressive results on the battlefield and is trying to find some new excuses for this and thus explain his failure. At the security conference that took place in Moscow, Shoigu said that Russia is going to start using cluster munitions against Ukraine. Russia has not used cluster munitions during the special military operation in Ukraine, but this decision may be reconsidered. Shoigu is lying. From the first day of the war, Russia has been using cluster munitions, killing Ukrainian civilians. In addition, there is another interesting statement by Shoigu. The preliminary results of the warfare have shown that Ukraine's military resources are almost exhausted. Defense Minister to the participants of the Moscow Conference on International Security. Let me just remind you that Shoigu has been making similar statements since the first day of the full-scale invasion. In particular, it is easy to find a statement made in March of 2022 on the internet, a year and a half ago. Defense Minister Shoigu said that the main task of the first stage of the military operation have been completed. In general, the main tasks have been completed. The combat potential of the Ukrainian armed forces has been significantly reduced, which allows us to focus on our main attention and efforts on achieving the main goal, liberation of Donbass. This is what Shoigu said in March of 2022, and it was a year and a half ago. He continues to make similar statements that are intended only for the domestic Russian consumer, who perhaps due to lack of memory must once again believe the statements of the head of the Ministry of Defense of the aggressor state, which started this war in order to destroy the Ukrainian state as such. Another information and propaganda resource of the aggressor state is a history textbook for the 11th grade. One of the authors is a former Russian negotiator, former Minister of Culture Medinsky, who spreads absolutely false information. Ukraine is an ultra-nationalist state. Any dissent in Ukraine is severely persecuted. The opposition is banned. Everything Russian is declared hostile. This is a complete lie. The composition of the Ukrainian parliament clearly proves that the opposition is present in it, as well as opposition voices are heard in the Ukrainian media. There are no persecutions on ethnic grounds in Ukraine, and the fake history textbook has only one justification: to explain to Russian citizens why they started this senseless bloody war in which Russian citizens themselves are dying. The cooperation of the aggressor state and its army with the Russian Orthodox Church is also noteworthy, but it is already taken on comical forms. In particular, that the forum Army 2023, an inflatable church of the Russian Orthodox Church for the army, was presented. This is a vehicle with a military field church, which is planned to be used in the combat zone. The inflatable tent is 4 by 4 meters, which can accommodate a platoon of soldiers. Putin in Telegram channel reports. The only purpose of this is to show the sacred nature of war and the unity of the Russian church and the Russian army. Both are aggressors on the territory of Ukraine, but then the fakes that Russia can't stop spreading and drawing attention. Remember, at the beginning of the summer, they put out a story that the head of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine was allegedly wounded. Then they said that he was dead. Then they told us in official sources that he no longer existed, but that there were some virtual images or archived videos. And now, in order to explain their old fakes, they are throwing in new ones. In particular, the Russian state media Russia Today shows a document. According to our sources from the German hospital where Kirill Budanov was staying, the head of the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine refused treatment against the advice of doctors. This is completely absurd, starting with the fact that the head of the intelligence service would hardly be in the hospital under his real name. And this is exactly the kind of document the Russian propaganda machine showed. They continue to cultivate a fake that has already been refuted many times by life itself. And we must admit that it is the vacation season and Russia needs to demonstrate support for its aggression in the international arena in some way, so they found some interesting speakers for this purpose. Well, in particular, the leader of North Korea, who sent a telegram to Putin saying that in order to achieve great goals and great deeds, our countries will always show solidarity and strongly support each other. Let me remind you that not so long ago, Putin participated in the G8 summits. It used to have this name back then, sat at the same table with the leaders of the free world, and now he's receiving congratulatory telegrams and support from the leader of a pariah state that is associated worldwide with global terrorism and the nuclear arms race. Unbelievable. And the fakes that Russia Today produces, with reference to fictitious think tanks, are also noteworthy. Everyone wanted war in Ukraine except Putin, says Markovsky, a senior fellow at the London-based Center for Policy Studies. It sounds solid, but if you look at it, it turns out that there is no such thing in London. It is also named after John London, the founder of this think tank. The most interesting thing is that it is registered in the United States in New York in one of the unremarkable business centers. And from the realm of the comical, there is news that one of Russia's advocates on the international arena, former Austrian foreign minister Karin Kneissl, is now learning Russian and living in the Ryazan village of Petrushovo, and saying that it is better there than in the Maldives and the Seychelles. It is a sad ending for an international politician who participated in European Union summits to live somewhere in a Russian provincial village and say that Russia is the best place on the planet. The crisis in the genre of Russian propaganda is evident, but we can only draw our conclusion from this: to tell the word only the truth. If you live outside of Ukraine and prefer to watch true news from Ukraine in Russian, watch Freedom TV channel. In English, watch UATV channel. Only Ukrainian official media, the Ukrainian military and political leadership. See you soon.